Hello, welcome to Unit 11 of EDSE 510. This is the final unit of our course. It's wonderful to have come to this point. All of you have done a great job. I know that there have been many different variables going on this semester, and I'm just really grateful for the dedication that has been shown throughout. My hope is that the content in our course has been helpful for you in laying the foundation for practice, future research, investigation, and remaining active as a learner, whether you have years of experience in the field or are just starting out. For this final unit, we will be focused on students with physical disabilities, other health impairment, traumatic brain injury. For the past several weeks, we have had focus on different areas of eligibility, and this unit is the same. Our work for this unit includes a discussion board. We'll take a look at that together. Here is an announcement that was made a couple of weeks ago, but I want to make sure that we go over it together. There was an update to the course schedule. So you'll see on the original schedule document, this one, that Unit 11 was shorter, but there has been an extension made. We will go through May 8th for that unit. So there are 5 days added on. This unit does end on a Friday night, which is the final day that you'll have access to the course shell. That is the end of this traditional schedule semester. Ending the course on a Friday night is not typical for us because we usually have deadlines and discussion posts due by a Sunday. So please remember this is a Friday. That is unique for us. And you'll see here that the due dates are outlined in this post for the discussion for this unit. Work will not be accepted after the final day of the course, and you will not have the opportunity to submit it via Canvas. Please keep this in mind as we go. So you can see we're beginning Unit 11. We talked about the focus areas here. You do have Turnbull reading that is assigned for this unit. And you'll see that the unit is separated into several parts. Part 1 is a focus on students with physical disabilities. Part 2 for traumatic brain injuries, and Part 3 to review content related to other health impairment eligibility. And our discussion can be found right down here, in Part 3 of Unit 11. So you'll see all of our objectives. Remember, when units are separated into parts, that is not because we should do one before another, but simply because the information is organized by category. So for Part 1 here, be looking into our first topic, and that would be information on physical disabilities. Several different examples here of what these disabilities may be. There is a website linked to explore information not only on disabilities covered in our unit here, but also, as you can see, in several other factors and variables that may impact a student. You can see here that there is a tab for physical disability. If you'd like some more information on that, please do browse that link. And after this list of potential medical conditions that can impact a student with physical disabilities, you'll see a list here of potential characteristics that could impact a student with this eligibility category. And as you read through this list, really do think about how these things might play out in the school setting and what supports might be appropriate. Additional videos, resources, per usual. We do have an optional video here, and that is a TED Talk. So if you enjoy these, I would encourage you to check it out. A broken body is not a broken person. That's very well said. And this information is applicable to us not only in school settings, but also across our lives. You'll see here that there's some information about teaching students who are eligible for special education under this category. It may take a little bit more time. There might be some factors such as fatigue, and some transitions can impact students with additional fatigue, especially if that is related to a passing period or perhaps a physical education class, all dependent upon the student and what's going on and his or her level. So here are some examples of accommodations that might be helpful. And there could be some challenges that come along with language or visual perception. Motor skills can be impacted. This is all just dependent upon what the student has going on and which variables are impacting him or her. You can see up here in this sentence that students may take longer to complete tasks if they have physical disabilities and perhaps have not reached their full learning potential. Okay, so in that case, it's important to take action in ways that will help students to fill those gaps. And that is all part of the least restrictive environment because there are so many variables that could impact a student. More examples, potential accommodations or supports. Review these. There's also a document on instructional strategies for students who have physical disabilities. It's a good one to check out. And a list here. This is an interesting option called Camera Mouse, and this is a tool that is free if people are not able to use a typical computer mouse. Camera Mouse is an option and can be operated just by moving the face and the head rather than using the hand. So go ahead and check it out. This can be helpful for people with or without physical disabilities, but was created for a person who does not have reliable control of a hand. So that's an awesome resource. And then we'll move into information on students with traumatic brain injuries. There is a handbook that should be attached right down here, educating students with traumatic brain injuries. This is so important. Please take your time. You can see this is a large handbook, so obviously you don't have to read the whole thing, but there are some case studies here. Please take your time reviewing this information because you will see that TBI affects students in so many different ways, and there are students who may have experienced TBI early in life. Information about perhaps if students have lack of oxygen to the brain, this can happen at birth. It can happen later in life. Toxic substances, perhaps tumors, and various disease progressions. Very important to recognize this is not just necessarily the traditional concussion that we might think of, but there are many different ways that students can have impact in the brain. You will most definitely be working with students who are impacted at some level by TBI if you have not already. And traditionally, as I mentioned, concussion is something that comes to mind. Concussions, unfortunately, are very relevant and oftentimes due to athletic participation or some other accidents. Unfortunately, at times they can be due to a history of abuse. So you will encounter impacts of TBI on students regardless of level. It's very important to be aware of this information. You will see a module here, CDC information on concussion. Okay, so you'll be automatically forwarded to this link, and you can see that there are options to launch a course, information about TBI, particularly in athletics. That's a good option to review, especially because many students may be involved in sports, or if not, even in a typical PE class. Strategies for students with TBI: processing can be very impacted, retention can be very impacted. These are many different options to help students with keeping information written down or different ways of getting and accessing information. Universal design for learning is obviously very relevant and important here. Multiple modes of instruction, delivery, and assessment for students who are impacted by TBI. Finally, other health impairment. There are many different conditions or diagnoses that might impact a student who is eligible under OHI or other health impairment. The diagnosis that comes to mind is ADHD or ADD. This is not the only thing that creates OHI eligibility, but you will see this pretty frequently. So that's often what people jump to when they think about OHI. This stands for other health impairment, and by IDEA, you'll see the outline here. We want to make sure that that health impairment is adversely affecting the child's educational performance. And that's why this is highlighted here. As many students have health issues going on, but we do have to clearly identify that adverse effect. So there are other fact sheets and resources provided here. Investigate not only ADHD, but also information about OHI in general. This is a website that provides information about ADHD, so you can check out Understanding ADHD, particularly this page for educators might be helpful to you. Options, information, a very nice list here of classroom accommodations. That is lovely, so please do take the time to review. Think about how you might support students with ADHD diagnosis in class or any attention or focus issues. This is a great list. And as always, these accommodations could be helpful just as class-wide interventions. They're not only useful for students who have ADHD diagnosis. More information on attention issues, focus issues here. More links. And finally, for our discussion, you will select a disability that interests you. So after going through these 3 different parts, what is most interesting to you? Which one stood out to you you'd like to learn more about? So you'll post a website with teaching strategies. You won't want to pull one from the unit. That's too easy. It's right here in front of you. So instead, take the time to explore, find something different. You'll summarize. This will be a chance for you to put that into your own words. Cite your source in APA format, as always, but you don't want to just copy and paste. Really take that time to show that you've learned and absorbed the information. Share the way that this will be useful in your practice, and describe your collaboration with parents or family members of children who have the disability that you have chosen. And then, of course, as always, you will respond to at least 2 colleagues before the end of our discussion. So keep an eye on that most recent announcement regarding due dates, because that is going to provide you with the accurate information as we wrap up our course. And congratulations, we'll be in touch.